This is Character Crusade number 14.
14?
14.
Wow.
14.
Support for Character Crusade comes from audiobooks.com. Audiobooks make it possible to enjoy a story, learn something new, or find inspiration anytime, anywhere. And with more than 60,000 titles available, audiobooks.com makes it easy and convenient. Simply set up your account and start downloading your favorite books to your mobile device. Right now, you can start with a free 30-day trial and select the book of your choice to get started. Go to book.charactercrusade.com and start listening today.
You're listening to Character Crusade.
Greetings, Crusaders. You're listening to Character Crusade Skyrim Roleplay Workshop. I'm Joe.
I'm Matt.
And Stu is absent.
He is.
Yes.
I think he's celebrating, but, what are we to do to judge?
Celebrate good times. Come on.
We're sort of dating ourselves now, if we know that song.
I think that happened a long
Everyone
time
was singing
ago.
along. Everyone was singing along. They want more. Maybe later. Maybe later, dear listeners.
I don't believe that's true, but we can always think.
Hey, Joe.
Yes, Matt.
We have a bunch of new reviews on iTunes. Did you know that?
I think I did. Why don't you tell me some more about it?
I will. We had 3 new 5-star reviews on
fantastic.
iTunes. Yeah, it's awesome. We've got the best listeners ever, don't we?
I think so.
Everybody else thinks they do, but it's us.
They can't all be right, so we might as well be the ones that are right.
We must be right.
Correct.
So there's a few of these I can't pronounce, right? I even speak Swedish and I can't pronounce a couple of these.
I did notice a few of them.
So one of them is from a YouTube user, Phoenix Gaming 09, and this was a 5-star review. Best Skyrim podcasts ever.
Fantastic.
Well, they're right?
I would agree, but
so
I
this
might be
comment,
biased.
well, we are biased, but there's some value in that, I think. So this one says, I might not have been watching you from the time you began your Let's Live with Fleet, but when I found those first videos, I couldn't stop watching and rewatching.
Let's live.
Phoenix Gaming 9 says you have an incredible knack for storytelling. And now, with these podcasts, you guys are just incredible. I love listening to them during work and for giving me inspiration on my own playthrough. Thank you so much, Stu, for starting your YouTube channel, and even more for returning to it after that long absence. I definitely look forward to the future of Couch Warrior TV.
Awesome.
It'd be helpful if Stu was here, so I think that we could maybe draw a picture of Stu on the wall over there.
Should we whiteboard him?
Let's whiteboard him.
I think I've actually done that in college.
It's not like a flow chart, though, is it?
No, we had a dorm photograph for our floor.
Oh, sure.
So we had a photograph, and Stu was not present, so I actually did draw a picture of Stu and held it in his absence.
That's outstanding.
So we could do that here.
I'm not a very good artist, so I have to rely on you for that.
It really wasn't any kind of a Rembrandt. So,
Stu, you may have to see this when you're back in the studio with us. But Phoenix Gaming 9 is gushing, and rightfully so, about Stu's Let's Live and Let's Play and everything else.
Yeah, live.
Let's live.
Let's live.
Yeah. It's totally different than just paying attention to somebody else's game, because the story, I think, is what really makes it,
no.
Right?
There's a lot of really good Let's Plays out there.
Yeah.
But I do agree that Stuart's take and his spin and his format is very unique. So
makes it worth watching over and over.
It does, and many have.
Yeah.
Myself included. So
I haven't made it all the way through all of them, quite frankly, but
there's a lot out there, so it takes some time.
Like 160 or something. And growing, right? I mean, when he sort of sprang that on us a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise.
It was, but it made me excited, actually.
No, I agree. I think it's going to be great.
So,
what else we got?
All right, the next one, this is Lair Extra.
There's a few extra consonants in there.
There's more consonants than there should be, which leads me to believe that this person may be either from Finland or Iceland, or is just pulling my leg here.
Or maybe just needed to type out a name.
Possibly. Or maybe they fell over on the keyboard and didn't notice. Fell asleep there.
Perhaps their cat walked across the keyboard just at the wrong time.
Whatever it is, it works for me, because the next comment is I really love role play, but I've noticed a correct, well-made role play series is so hard to come by. Yeah, no kidding.
Very true.
I came across your channel a long time ago, and I've been listening, watching ever since. Thank you so much for putting this out there. I truly do enjoy hearing all these amazing concepts and ideas. Good work, guys. Keep it up. Long-time fan, Tyler.
Great.
So, Tyler, I'm sorry if falling over on the keyboard is actually what happened while you were typing in the username here in iTunes. If you're not okay or trapped under something heavy, please let us know, and we'll see if we can alert somebody to come and help you now these many days hence.
It might be a touch late.
Might be a little late.
Hopefully someone's already come to the rescue by now.
Hope someone feed Tyler. He needs some mead.
Hunting brew,
yes. And then there's one more, Falco Took, not like Canadian toque, I don't think.
Could be Hobbit toque.
So this one says, I've recently been sucked into Skyrim. I know, late to the party. Well, by the way, you're not the only one late to the party. Me, very late to the party, still getting slaughtered all the time. Late to the party still means at the party.
Correct.
So lots of people might be leaving the party. We are soon to be the life of the party.
Perfect.
So recently sucked into Skyrim, and also a fan of podcasting, so we did a search. He or she, excuse me, did a search to see what kind of podcasts might be out there. I wasn't familiar with Couch Warrior's other content, so I had no idea what to expect. What I found was a great podcast that was very interesting to me as a person who likes characters to be the focus of a story. Great job, guys.
Cool.
That's, I think, what makes
welcome
so different. It isn't just about slaughtering or amassing stuff.
No,
there is a story there.
It really is intended to revolve around your character, how you play it, and how you play the game, not necessarily how you make it through the game.
Yeah. And I think we'll chat about that
makes sense
in a little bit, because I think our topic for today is talking about sort of the newbie experience. So this dovetails really nicely, because I have an awful lot of newbie experience to chat about.
Actually, it really does. It's a great segue.
We're not the only ones who are new to the game.
No.
Skyrim has 20 million copies have been sold or something like that. There's bound to be a few of us who are just buying it this year.
I think that's probably a good.
Now, Stu probably bought it about 11 minutes after it was available.
Yeah, and I know if he's mentioned this before, but he literally did wear out his Xbox disc.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it was starting to delaminate, and he actually had to buy a new one.
See, they should provide a new one.
Out.
If you've used it that much and it's not just spinning in there overnight because you hit pause, it's very different.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, I think we'll move on to our next segment. Thank you to everybody who submitted reviews in iTunes. Really appreciate everyone being with us around the world. And if anyone else hasn't given us any reviews yet, we'd love to hear from you too.
For sure.
All right. Are we doing character craft today?
I think we can. We
do
can
character
spend
craft.
a couple minutes on that.
All right. Well, I know a lot of times we'll talk about in our character craft segments updates for what we've been doing in our games in the last couple of weeks. Do you want to give an update?
Yeah, I can go over some quick stuff. I know It seems like lately I've been kind of gushing on about the Tundra defense, and in my opinion, rightfully so. But I'm going to kind of gear away from that a little bit, or steer away rather.
Sure.
Just because I think I've been spending so much time on it. Let's talk about.
But if you love it, though, I mean,
well, yeah,
right?
and really, I have not over the past few days spent as much time in my outpost as I had previously. So now
we have been putting some screenshots of some of the things up on the new Facebook page. Do you have any screenshots that you took down in the?
I do.
Yeah,
I'll have to get them. I'll have to get them out there. We can optimize them and get them all.
I haven't seen any of them. I don't even know what it looks like.
Yeah, I've got tons of screenshots. I just got to go through and pick them out. So
that's one of the things.
I will do that.
As a newbie, I tend to try to find the little tiny print screen button on here really often, just because I want to remember where I am. Because in a few minutes, I'll be too busy trying to fight off another frost troll or something, and then I forget about where I am or how I got there. Right.
Right.
So I want to find a way to map a key that's larger, so that I can hit print screen.
There you go.
On this laptop, it's a tiny little thing.
It's
like the size of half of a chiclet gum.
It is. It's right in there with your function keys.
I need like a big easy button and just whack it.
The easy.
Something I can do with my foot, right? I can snap
button.
a screenshot with my foot.
Right on.
They make them. Maybe I could just put an extra mouse on the floor and I'll just step on it. Floor mouse.
I think they have those in audio recording.
They do.
You can get a foot pedal for it there.
And they do make foot pedals for office cube workers as well.
So you can hide your screen.
Well, that way you can click it with your foot when you turn around and your colleague walks by and wonders why you're playing, Minecraft at work or something, right? You can hit the. I don't know. I couldn't be loading Skyrim.
That man's
on my
playing Galaga. Didn't think we'd notice, but we did. So Ienarath, what I've been doing with her lately is, well, honestly, I've been kind of adding some different mods to change kind of her armor set and just tweaking some visuals more than not.
Okay.
So I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier, but I've got this Lustmord. I can't remember now, and I don't have it in front of me. I think it's Lustmord, and so I finally was able to build the entire set of armor for her with that. What I didn't have was silver. I needed silver ingots.
Okay.
I had tons of iron and kind of forgot that I had a spell that I could transmute iron to silver.
What?
So
you're carrying around all these iron ingots.
I had all this iron,
and
and I'm looking for silver, and I couldn't find any, and no one had enough, and I'm like, duh.
You got it all.
I can just cast the spell. It took a little bit of time because I could only do it one at a time, but I got it. Ooh. So I created that. It's very well done. It's kind of sexy. It's a little burlesque for me.
Sure.
It's really nice. I'm going to keep it, and I think I'm going to have it on hand as kind of the ballroom get up, if you will. So when I go into either the Blue Palace or the Thalmor Embassy, or places where of respect and
a change of clothes,
where you want to be more visually upscale,
right?
I'm going to keep it for that.
I'm still covered in mud whenever I go in somewhere.
Yeah. So what I did is I found a different mod. I believe it's called the Blood Witch armor. It's a light armor set, and it seems a little more practical. It's got a really nice look to it, and it's not as good a armor quality as far as protection goes, but it really looks good on her. I like how it looks, and so that's going to kind of be her armor of choice every day. So I'm getting away from the heavy armor, which offers obviously better protection.
Great protection, yeah.
But I'm changing up her style, her look a little bit to be more light. Oh, and she carries this. She always carries this. It's called a mourner's gown, which is just a black.
Is it all fabric?
It's an all fabric, and it's just clothes. It offers no protection, but she keeps it. So whenever I go indoors, I go to the inn. I usually change into this.
Okay.
So that she can, I'm going to get comfortable. I'm going to get on my armor.
Right.
So anytime she's going to stay overnight, or when she's down in her field lab, she'll always change into that.
See, and those are the little things that I'll admit, being first time through the game, even second, third character through, I'm not thinking about acting in the game the way that I would in normal day to day, right?
Yeah,
so when you go from what you're doing out in the world, conquering or doing whatever you're doing, I don't think about changing my clothes when I go in.
It's kind of funny. I've gotten to the point now where, when I get to the field lab, which is her home, basically, whenever I enter in, and I know I'm going to be there for the night, or I'm going to mess around with the enchanter's table or alchemy or whatever, the first thought that pops into my head is, it's time to get comfortable.
Yeah.
I got to get out of this thing. So I change into my mourner's clothes, which is just a gown.
Yeah.
It's just a black gown, nothing special.
But again, it's part of where you are that makes the character a lot more believable as you look at it as someone who isn't playing that character. When I see screenshots of your character now, I'm going to think quite a bit more about context of where they are.
Right.
Are they inside? Are they in the palace? Are they in?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the outfit will, in large part, give you an idea of where they're at. That's a good.
That had never even occurred to me.
So the other thing I've done is it's mod related again. Is I have downloaded and installed this Pretty Idle Sits animation. It's not necessarily an animation as much as just an idle positioning.
Okay.
So instead of sitting there kind of with your hands on your knees, there's like 12, 13 different options when you install it. You can only choose one. It's not a random. So you can just pick one of the methods on how they sit.
Okay.
So when they sit in a chair, I've got her so she'll sit cross-legged with her hands on her knees. Very confident pose.
Yeah.
But it's not.
And not laid back. I mean, while I'm looking at it right here, it's I'm ready.
Yeah, this is a very confident-looking woman who is positioned herself very much above you.
And paying attention to the room.
Yes.
By the looks of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's one other little thing.
And for the people who are listening on the podcast, trying to describe some of the seated position with legs crossed, it would be a more feminine pose if it weren't for some of the armor. But, again, this looks like a queen seated at the head of the table kind of a thing for those who maybe be watching this component on
there
YouTube.
Actually is
we'll try to drop in some pictures.
There is a separate pose for actual Jarls.
Oh, really?
And the thrones.
Okay.
So you can configure the mod when you install it to have them use either the vanilla pose or a modified. I have not been into a Jarl's quarters yet with a female, because there's a male and a female version.
Sure.
So you can choose either vanilla or the modified for either a male or female Jarl.
Nice.
Or a throne position. Yeah. So I chose to keep the vanilla for the male because it seemed more masculine.
Typical, yeah.
whereas the feminine pose is, well, more feminine,
Right.
so it seemed more fitting.
Yeah.
But I haven't actually witnessed it yet, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. And then, again, I've just changed up her armor a bit, so it just seems more fitting to her character. But that's just kind of all superficial.
Yeah.
What I've actually been doing is going out and about looking for this armor because there's mini quests that go with it.
Okay.
So she's been out and about looking for silver. She's right now, she's looking for people to enter or recruit her guild through Guild Starter, which is a mod. She needs a blacksmith desperately down in her outpost since she doesn't do any of the smithing herself.
Yeah, I've heard that she outsources most of that.
Yes, she
Yeah.
outsources all of it except for like tanning leather, that kind of thing.
Okay.
She'll do that, but she does not actually smith herself. So I need to find a blacksmith desperately. I really wanted the orc that was in Markarth, but as I'd mentioned last time, she was killed on a vampire raid.
Oh.
So I don't want the putz that's successing her.
left.
Yeah. So I got to go find someone else. So that's
It's never about who's left.
no. It's
Who's
about
left when the battle is over.
It's all about quality. So,
yeah.
I have not been spending as much time down in Blackreach. I've actually found one of the real entrances.
Tell me about it.
Oh gosh, you're gonna make me remember where it is exactly now.
You don't have to tell me where it is. Tell me what you mean by you found the actual entrance.
Okay. So, a lot of there's several different entrances into Blackreach, at least 3. So what you need to do is you go into these Dwemer ruins.
Mm-hmm.
And you make your way through generally between Dwemer constructs and Falmer. You battle your way through the ruin and maybe some other creatures. But usually at the end of it, there is a pedestal. And you need what is called an attunement sphere. It's just a round sphere that you place into this pedestal.
Okay.
And it activates this spiral staircase, which then staggers
Chunks
downward
into place?
Yeah, it kind of chunks downward. And at the bottom of the stairwell is the door that goes into Blackreach.
Okay.
So it's outside of how I started the game, the only way to get into Blackreach is through one of these doors. And the only way you can do that is to get the attunement sphere. And there's a couple quests. I think we covered that last time with, what's his name way up north? He's in the cavern.
Yeah.
That's one way. But because of how I started, I actually found one in the lab, field lab. I just kind of never thought about it.
That's handy.
So I grabbed it. And, well, at that
You're
point,
here.
I
Take it.
didn't need to find the other entrances because I already had
You're already
one.
there. Yeah.
So this one actually, funny enough, the entrance I found with this attunement sphere opened up the doorway that was right onto the balcony where I set up my blacksmithing shop.
Okay.
So now I've got the Altend gate, or the Altend lift rather, which is just right on the edge of my outpost, and then I've got this secondary stairway which will lead to a lift that'll go up and out, and I can't remember the exact name of it, right on the doorstep of my smithing station. So I've got 2 real close ways to get in and out right now. So it's there's a couple others now. I want to find the other one, so I got some other options, but
there really isn't any danger of others coming in those entrances, right?
No, not the way the mechanics are set up.
Okay.
It's just getting there.
Yeah.
Nothing will come through, but getting there from the outside, working your way in it can be a little perilous.
Because there are times when I'm playing or I'm running away or I'm doing something and I sneak in someplace and I don't think about the fact that the mechanics won't generally allow characters to come through. Right now it's different with Lydia, right? Because she's coming through to make sure that I'm not making really bad decisions, which normally happens. But I always think that, because trolls and other things will follow you a pretty fair distance if they can still see you.
Yeah. Trolls you can string along, and I know Stuart has done some playthroughs
Troll
on this.
baiting.
Basically, basically recruiting a unwilling army to follow you.
Oh.
And so what because trolls will move slow enough, you can bait a troll along and swing them into bandits, and they will attack the bandits, and the
seriously?
bandits will attack them.
How did I not know that? This is exactly why I want to have this conversation tonight.
So yeah, some of these creatures, especially trolls are really good because they are slower. So you can easily stay ahead of them.
Sure.
But yeah, you can drag them into your opponents.
And there are big advantages to not just slaughtering all the bandits when you sneak up on them. I have found that.
Sometimes, yeah, they're willing to talk.
Most of the time,
sometimes
I'm just
they're
too
not a
scared.
bandit.
Yeah.
No, I get that. Who's that up ahead? I'll shoot and ask questions.
Yeah. And then you hear, did I hear something? Is somebody there? Yeah, it's me. Don't kill me. And then I'm full of arrows. And
Yeah. Some of the other creatures are a little more difficult to do that with. Bears, for example, because they move faster.
And wolves and
wolves
skeevers,
move,
no chance.
So they will keep pace with you if you're not careful. If
Now
you're on a horse, you could do it. But just running...
my horse got slaughtered too.
Yeah. I hate losing my horses.
I want a mammoth.
I'm going to be honest. I get more upset when I lose a horse than I do a follower. I don't know why that is, but it just makes me more upset.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know why, but every time I've lost Lydia as a companion, I've been really bothered by it, mainly because I need the extra hands, to make sure that when there are baddies that I'm not just
Sometimes
there on my own.
it's really helpful. Sometimes in tight quarters, followers can get in the way.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
But out in the tundra, yeah, they can be really useful.
But you have to leave the horse outside.
Yeah, your horse will become a target.
But if you need to get away quickly, go jump on the horse.
Or if you're over encumbered, which has happened to me on several occasions. Okay, so here's a downside of Tundra Defense.
All right.
So in Tundra Defense, you can build a merchant shop. In that merchant shop is a trader's chest.
Okay.
And if you're familiar with the mod, you already know what that is. But if you're not, what it does is it adds a chest that you can put things into that the merchant will basically sell for you.
Oh.
So you can collect all this stuff, put it in this chest, and not have to worry about going up to the real world or wherever and selling it.
Yeah.
Because after a certain amount of time elapses, it will sell on your behalf.
It's just gone.
Perfect. Love that feature. What I don't like about it is what it does is it dumps all that gold into your inventory.
Okay.
So with the standalone trader's chest, it'll leave the coin in the chest and you can go collect it on your leisure.
Okay.
In this version in the Tundra Defense mod, it automatically transfers that to your character.
Makes you a bigger target.
Well, and that's okay for someone, like yourself or any console player where septums don't have a weight value.
Yeah.
If you're playing a PC with Percus Maximus, that coin suddenly gains a weight value.
Oh, okay.
It's like 1/10 of a pound or something like that. It's not a lot, but if you
adds
have
up.
all of a sudden you were endowed with 5,000 septums when you weren't expecting it
in the middle of a fight,
you're suddenly going from running to walking really slow, as you know. So that is one downside of that particular mod is it can encumber yourself. Yeah, you can become encumbered unexpectedly.
No mobile app for that.
At the worst times.
Okay.
There is no mobile app for that transfer. That is not a digital transfer.
It's actually pretty cool, though, because
but
if while you're out in the world, you need something, you're going to, try to buy a new bow off of a merchant or whatever, then you would have it with you rather than having to go all the way back to Blackreach and get it. But like you're saying, if you get stuck in the middle of a battle and all of a sudden you're, 4 times as heavy, that's not cool.
I mean, yeah, it's nice if you need the extra coin for something and hey, there it is.
Yeah.
But I've found more often than not, it becomes a burden rather than helpful. So
it's an interesting characteristic, though. I hadn't thought about the fact that the money doesn't weigh anything.
It does not in the vanilla.
Yeah.
It's like lockpicks. You can have as many as you want.
I tend to stockpile lockpicks, too, because I still kind of suck at that.
Well, yeah, lockpicks are one of those things. It doesn't seem like you can ever have enough of them.
I'd rather have
eventually
dynamite,
you do, but
yeah.
It doesn't matter because they don't weigh anything. It's like arrows. It doesn't weigh anything. So,
Now, I have noticed that there's lots of different kinds of arrows, and we'll get to that when I talk about that too. But, these are all the pieces where now I'm starting to get to some of the outer areas. I'm willing to walk a bit further.
Sure.
And just spend some travel time getting somewhere rather than just keeping in my neighborhood,
Right.
And, wow.
It was kind of a rambling, tangent-filled character update, but Ienarath is out and about. I've installed a couple mods to kind of change her looks and the way she works, including better vampires, since she is a vampire. And there's some really good videos on that particular mod. It's a very popular one.
Okay.
And I see why now that I have it installed. It's done really well. So that's kind of where she's at. She's out and about looking for people and changing up the way she does business.
And building up home to make things easier for when she's out.
Yes. With the guild started, she's now starting to look for people.
That's awesome.
So,
well, thanks, Joe.
That's me.
All right. Well, I guess it's my turn, right?
That's your turn.
All
what
right.
do you got going?
Well, hang on. Let me take a peek because I don't even remember where Whelp is at the moment.
All right, Whelp coming up.
Okay, so you're going to see one of the disadvantages of being a new guy.
That's all right.
Is the fact that I was getting slaughtered so badly that I ended up looking up some console commands to try to get at least some slightly better weapons. I caved in and I got a couple things, and I haven't used them and I haven't sold them, and I don't feel bad about it at all.
Well, you know what? Own it. Own it like a boss.
It's I think a little bit, last time you were asking, had I started to develop at all the story around my character.
Sure.
And realizing as I'm running into more Khajiit around Skyrim, sort of their approach doesn't always seem to be, everything on the surface, right? There's,
right.
I think a lot of harboring of not necessarily ill will, but I'm getting a little bit for myself, and there is an advantage in, being one of these groups that's moving around all the time. So
yeah, they're very nomadic.
Yeah, so you're going to get what you can.
Yep.
Where you can get it, and while you're going to get something out of it while you're there.
Oh, for sure.
And that's a little bit counter to my own personality, but it's been terribly advantageous here.
Oh, sure.
I don't feel bad about walking away with people's good stuff. I'm learning a lot more about sneaking and pickpocketing.
Right.
That's still getting me in trouble sometimes, but
it certainly can.
If I look to where I am now, I've been trying to walk around a lot, and I don't know how to make the map any bigger or smaller, but I'm trying to find my way over to Morthal and to whatever this other thing is, Ustengrav.
Yep.
Only because I've been starting so many
you're
of
looking
the
for
quests.
the horn, okay.
Yes, but a couple of weeks ago we were talking about all the options for side quests and everything.
Right.
And I think you and Stu and a bunch of the listeners were working on what they were doing for Epicosity.
Right.
I haven't even gotten a chance to finish some of the basic quests, so you're not finishing any of that stuff. I've got tons of stuff stored in barrels all over the place because I can't carry it,
right.
but I'm not finishing the quests, and I was feeling like I was missing out on a lot.
Well, don't. Yeah, don't. What am I? I'm like 38th level.
Okay.
And
I'm 12.
I've completed 2 of the main quest lines.
Oh.
That's it.
Okay. Then I don't feel bad about that at all.
So I've been spending so much more time, just letting myself get sidetracked on some of these other things as I'm out and about looking for silver and looking for individuals to recruit.
Mm-hmm.
I would come across something. One of the other mods I put in was a quest mod for Boethiah.
Tell me about that.
So this centers around finding weapons.
Okay.
A couple relics of Boethiah. And I would need to find out what those are called again. And we'll get them. I'll get the mod up on the list. But so what really happens is you end up going to a small little realm of Boethiah, and you do this like arena fighting.
Oh, sweet.
So you find this dagger, and then you go and you get a sword because you need it to open up this other thing.
Okay.
And as soon as you grab the sword, she transports you into her little realm and says, okay, you've got my attention. Bad idea. She sends you into this arena where you've got to fight people, and so far I cannot get past the second one.
That sounds
I'm getting my
crazy.
ass totally handed to me. The second fighter that you face is just all about the electricity.
Oh.
And he's just destroying me. So I actually reverted to an earlier save because I need to go and get myself some more potions.
How do you decide when you're going
shock.
to do that, though? I mean, when you're as sort of far along as you guys often are, how do you decide when you have taken maybe one step too far or one bite too big and it's time to...
Well, in this particular case, it was pretty easy because I was having I wasn't even coming close to defeating this second round thing, and I think I've got 10 rounds to go.
Oh, my word.
I came to the quick realization that what I really need for this battle is I need to protect myself from electricity, from shock, and I have nothing on me to do that. So I've gone back to an earlier save, and I'm going to build up either some gear or some potions that are going to help me.
Okay.
What to expect after that, I don't know. So I think I need to make a broad category of things to claim.
Well, I'm trying
get
to
a hold of.
understand which potions do what and which ones give you a good benefit in those areas. Mine's trial and error right now.
A lot of times it'll be in the name. It's pretty self-explanatory, but
when you're going to be, you regenerate magicka or health at 15 or 25% faster, that doesn't matter when one hit is killing me.
No, that's true. That's true.
And that's where I'm trying to make some good decisions. I'm not really very confident that it's helping a whole lot. But
right. So, yeah, and that was kind of a spur of the moment thing that she came across and discovered that she was going to go investigate. And after doing so, I've decided that maybe I'm going to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
And prepare myself a little better. What she really needs to do, again, is go recruit people, and she really needs to finish off the Mehrunes Dagon, the Razor quest.
Yeah.
She needs one last piece for that. So she's got to kind of refocus on the those are what were important to her. So I need to kind of refocus on that a little bit with her.
And what I think I'm going to do is I'm trying to set myself to give myself a little bit more opportunity to explore the entirety of Skyrim more if I can.
Right.
Rather than just going everywhere. I will admit I was just going wherever there was easy paths. In a lot of cases, and that's fine. But you eventually have to figure your way through the mountain and pick your way through the pass.
Right.
And then, admittedly, look at that. There's a little crag and an opening in a cave, and now I'm here for 4 hours. And what I need to do is to just get on and finish a couple of the quests if I can, because it'll give me more experience. When you guys told me last time, did you know that you could go and disenchant those things?
Right.
I went from like a level 7 to a level 11, level 12 in 30 minutes.
Oh, I believe it.
Right. Oh, and by the way, I wasn't over encumbered anymore, which also made a huge difference.
Right, because you do gain a little bit.
But now I've got to go back to all the places where I have stuff stored in barrels and chests and go pick everything back up.
There you go. There's pretty much your immediate quest there is to go gather all your things.
Get all my stuff back.
And I'm going to guarantee that on the way to retrieving all your things, you're probably going to run off on a tangent and find something.
Every time I run off on a tangent.
Maybe, there's that Craig, You're Khajiit. You're a nomad
stuff.
In Skyrim. So it seems very much in your race's nature.
To be on the move.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah. Well, and there's
over and over and over.
You've been looking at my stats again. As we go through those things, and there's a huge benefit that I have in being in the room with you here today, Joe, and that's that we're actually looking at Skyrim on the screen.
And
this is something
we don't get to do this very often.
No, generally when we're recording, we have such an incredible depth of knowledge in Stu that we don't need the game open, because I think that it's running in his head all the time.
I think you're probably right.
Stu is like Neo of Skyrim.
I can, all the zeros and ones paint a picture. I can only hope that I can get to that someday. Yeah. But
I think that he may have dedicated a significant portion of gray matter just to this.
He emptied a few memory banks just for Skyrim.
He may have.
So, as you can see, I've got
quests completed.
I've got 2 main quests completed and 5 side quests. I've got 41 miscellaneous objectives and 20 quests all in total.
But the miscellaneous objectives are the little ones, like you have to go meet this person and learn about that thing and collect a bone and do all that stuff. And those I get to while I'm in the midst of going from place to place.
A ton of active quests, as you can see.
Mm-hmm. But you don't feel like you have to bypass doing other stuff and just say, I'm only going to go and look for, recruit another member or...
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't dwell on all the open quests that I have going, because some of them just kick off unintentionally. I open a book or I talk to somebody and it kicks off. It doesn't mean that I feel obligated to complete it.
You're not the boss of me.
Shoot, I've had this one here, Live Another Life, which is from the alternate start mod.
Okay.
I've had that since level 1.
And you just have one thing yet to finish it out, but it's
one thing. And what this one thing's going to do is it's going to kick off the main Dragonborn quest line.
Oh.
And I'm not ready to do that yet.
But see, that I would inadvertently finish it, and then I'd rapidly be attacked. And
Break of Dawn. This is a vanilla quest line.
Okay.
And this one's a little tricky because it will kick off randomly. What you need to do is find a beacon. It's a large gem, and it's placed randomly throughout the world for each gameplay. So where I found it isn't going to be where you find it.
Which is great, because then you can't just say, go to this place.
I can't tell you where it is. Okay. I can tell you, where I found it. At this point, I can't remember, but I could. If, at that time, I could have said, hey, go look here. Well, maybe it was there, maybe not.
Yeah. But see, and part of the only way that I can gather this up is by trying to read all the books, right? We talked about this a few episodes back. That's
going to give you a lot of insight.
You don't get... when I was playing AmethystDeceiver in the beginning, there was no reading. There was gathering, there was stealing, there was depositing.
Right.
Them,
I
wasn't reading anything.
And even for my earlier Hinto, he didn't read either. So books weren't an option.
It wasn't. Yeah, exactly.
But for her, it would be. But again, this is one that kicked off because I accidentally found the beacon. But
you don't not pick those things up, right? I mean, when you find gems and everything else, we tend to collect them.
Oh yeah,
everything.
Yeah,
I haven't found anything that I don't really want. I found
especially if it's named.
Yes.
Because this one will say Meridia's Beacon when you pick it up or when you find it. So
those are the moments that I save right away.
Named items I almost always pick up, even if it's just an iron dagger.
Sure.
Just because it seems like it must have some kind of special meaning, even if it just has a name.
Yeah.
But she probably won't do that one, not anytime soon.
I have to say, I'm really glad to see that you have a lot of things that are available that you haven't done.
Oh yeah. And I, honestly, I had every intention and still do of completing a lot of these, but as I play through, completing it becomes less important as playing the game.
Yeah, but your character isn't just about going through the game now, and mine's learning Skyrim as if I've just moved to the city. I've moved to the place.
Yeah.
I don't know where anything is. I don't know who to talk to.
Exactly.
It's a darn good thing that I'm a Khajiit, because I tend to be all over and bumping into people and wanting their stuff and wanting them to buy my stuff. And
and that's I play this character in that mindset that she is educated and very perceptive. So she knows the world. She's read about things.
Okay.
I don't feel bad looking at the map because I would consider her to have one with her.
Right.
So I can play that off as, this is knowledge that she's either gained or would be smart enough to find.
Now, how would Hinto do that? Maps aren't necessarily something that you would read, right? What would you do with that?
Well, with Hinto, I could get to a point with Hinto that he possibly could use a map just because of the visual aspect.
Sure.
He could memorize different
places,
locations, and that kind of thing. But with him, he, through the Hunterborn mod that I used heavily with him, there was an item that you could craft that would point you in the direction of your current active quest.
Oh.
So I could drop this dagger, and it would point me into, it would make a small squiggly little path on the direction I needed to go.
Okay.
So if I ever, if I came to a fork in the road or an impasse that I didn't know what direction to go, I would drop one of those daggers, and it would point me the way. So that's kind of how I got around it with him.
Was it always right?
It's always right. Well, it's always right to the active quest you have. So you got to make sure your quests are proper.
Okay.
So he used that. So that was kind of that ritualistic magic artifact type of play.
Those are some of the pieces where I've rolled in pieces of my own experience a little bit into Whelp's life. Orienteering is one of those things that I have enjoyed personally a lot, which is a lot about map and compass, right? Simple, getting point A to point B.
Oh, sure.
It's problematic when your character hasn't been very many places, which is why going on these sort of long, meandering walkabout exercises just helps me to uncover the map.
Oh, right.
I tend to look at the map frequently just as a point of reference, not because I know that I have to go to a place, but how far am I from the last place? I still tend to use the bow and arrow a lot more than I use lots of close-in weapons.
Okay.
But I have found that there are some magnificent kill cam shots when you're using some of the axes and close-in weapons that I hadn't seen for a long time.
And I believe those will change as your levels increase.
Okay.
And as you get more proficient, you'll get slightly different kill cams.
Tell me, I'm going to ask a little bit about Percus Maximus. When you're looking at some of the perk tree pieces, I've been diving up, trying to go up one particular branch, right up through one-handed or two-handed or whatever. And the advantages with some of the mods and seeing where you are is not something that I've easily gotten grasp of. And to be able to look at this must be Percus, right?
So for those of you listening, right now I've got the level up perk trees displayed for Matt to look at,
and thank you for that, Joe.
Percus does modify the perk trees pretty extensively.
Okay.
It adds a lot of intermediate perks that you can get.
Okay.
And so what it does, it allows you to just kind of specialize maybe a little bit more.
Okay.
So, for example, the ranged weaponry basically has 3 different tiers to it. So it's got your short bow, crossbow, and then long bow.
Okay.
And different abilities that are slightly different than.
And what I may end up doing is going back to AmethystDeceiver and perhaps using him as a character that has got some of these extra perk pieces. Maybe start trying out a few mods. Einar seems like the kind of guy who'd do whatever he could to get himself a little bit of an advantage.
Well, yeah, especially probably in the armor and weapon category.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Was he heavy or light armor?
He was heavy.
Heavy two-handed or single?
Mostly two-handed.
Two-handed. Okay,
and it was great. I mean, it was this giant hulking guy, heaviest armor he could get.
He hit hard.
It was big. It was noisy. Right?
Yeah.
And then I shed everything into a barrel, and that wasn't so good. Let's just say that it was probably good that I didn't have any mods running that would be environmental, like getting wet or cold. It would have,
you would have felt that right away.
I would have felt it right away. But being able to sort of go back and look at the tendency to be a big guy wearing really heavy armor. I mean, like everything that I could get on, and at that point it was heavy iron boots and the largest armor that I could find and a great big helmet with the horns on it. And it just seemed to be all right. Nothing's going to take advantage of me with all this stuff on.
It felt right.
And it was probably slowing me down, and I'm sure that my swing speed wasn't very good at level 2. And
well, I mean, that's the trade-off, right? I mean, heavy armor definitely gives you better armor rating, but it's heavier, obviously, so you can't carry as much.
Yeah.
Two-handed weapons deal a boatload of damage,
but you can't really block anything either. as fast.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, they can block, but it's not nearly as effective as a shield.
Yeah. And I've found that with Whelp, that the big advantage in speed and having a smaller single-handed weapon with a decent shield, and combine that with a ranged weapon with bow and arrow. I'm still using, I think, the ancient Nord bow and most of the, I mean, I pick up all the iron arrows I can everywhere, of course, but they're just not quite as good. But I can go through them like staples.
Oh. Right. So, so let's go there for a little bit. As a new player, let's talk about maybe some of the challenges, just kind of right off the bat. I mean, what are some of the things that
knowing where to go
were difficult to overcome or are still?
I don't know where everything is.
Okay.
When I run into things and they say you need to talk to this person in this place, I still don't know what place they're talking about yet.
Oh, okay.
Being able to collect things like a mammoth's tusk still seems to be a somewhat insurmountable task, unless I can find a place where you've already got a dead mammoth, which was something I ran into last time.
Sure.
But where there's mammoths, there's giants. There tends to be, and I apparently must exude some sort of a smell because the giants just seek me out, and then I turn into a projectile. So I don't do probably as good of a job when I'm paying attention to that objective, like getting the mammoth. I run into the issue of starting to be overconfident and not taking advantage of being invisible.
Yeah, that's
and
real. Yeah, that's really easy to do. I mean, I still do that.
But you expose yourself at the great expense of then having to run away, and then you waste a lot of time waiting, for a giant or other creature to go back to what they were doing.
Yeah, and really, mammoths. You're right. Mammoths and giants do pair together. I mean, it's almost like mammoths are almost like cattle.
Yeah.
For giants.
Yeah.
Both will generally leave you alone if you keep your distance, but they will turn aggressive pretty quick if you get too close. And
I have found a couple cases where I've walked and I've been able to successfully sneak through giants' camps. One of the things I'm trying to do is increase sneak as much as I can.
Right, and as a Khajiit, that makes sense.
But you go really slow everywhere.
Well, yeah.
Right, and so when I'm trying to do that, I'm sneaking into camps and I'm rummaging through tents and all that stuff, and it's great fun. It just takes a lot of time, like you would if you were sneaking. I still don't have a lot of confidence or capability doing pickpocketing as much as I would like to.
Sure.
But those are some of the things that I think would be fun to build up.
Yeah, things
just
to work on.
As again, as a Khajiit, I'm looking at things that I can get that maybe I can sell later.
Right.
Because then when I run into something that I want to buy that maybe I haven't quite earned, I've got enough coin.
Sure.
Why not? I'll throw some coin at that and see if I can build up some skill.
Right. So when you're sneaking, so you have the walk or the run.
Yep. Well, and I tend to leave run on almost all the time, and then I'll walk, and then I'll crouch. Right. So I'm down and I'm hidden, and I still get detected quite often because I'm pushing my way through shrubbery and whatnot.
Right.
But
I mean, sneaking is going to be slower, but if you keep it in the run mode while you're sneaking,
you still move along pretty decently.
You still move quicker.
I think I tend to get out of run mode when I'm sneaking.
That's going to be extremely slow.
Yeah, it's like dragging a body slow.
Yeah. Try toggling your run on while you're in sneak mode.
Okay. I had erroneously imagined that if I was running while I was sneaking,
I mean,
sort of a level of sneak changes, perhaps, but
that's a good question. I think it probably does. So the biggest things that are going to affect sneak, I believe, are going to be, of course, your sneak levels.
Yep.
And your armor will make a difference.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
Heavier
armor, the louder you are.
Okay.
That's why your thieves are usually in leather.
Very,
and light
very
armor,
light, yeah.
Or next to nothing.
Ienarath would be great at sneaking right now. See, it wouldn't be so bad if there was a naked Khajiit, right? It's just
because then it's just fur.
Then people think it's all cuddly,
right? Oh, it's so cute.
Oh, what a cute little Khajiit.
Sneak and armor, what you're wearing, makes a difference. Other things that play into the sneaking mode are lighting.
Okay.
So
obviously middle of the day,
it's
out
going
in
to
the
be
open.
way more difficult to get away with sneaking.
Those are the
than
times when I need to be
at night,
resting during the day, hanging out during the day.
or keeping to the shadows, keeping objects between you and whatever you're trying to sneak up on as much as possible, whether it's trees or rocks or outcropping.
Anybody who has played first-person shooter games is embarrassed for me right now for not taking these basic things into account, right? Because I don't think about the fact that the AI in these games is so much better than what it was when we were gaming a number of years ago when I was, pitted against you and Stu and Sean and Matt and everybody, where it was a person on the other end, you know, and the characters in a lot of the games that we were playing at that point were very stuck in a very regimented capability. I mean, the characters here, like you're saying, you can bait the trolls and bring them into other areas and have other people fight them for you. That seems incredibly simple and logical, but no, it's me and the troll and that's it. And 11 battles later, I'm still bloodied and licking my wounds up on a little rock ledge. Hoping.
Even things like if you are in a dungeon area, you can sometimes you're able to activate the torches that might be in the sconces on the wall.
Okay.
If you can, what basically you'll end up doing is you're grabbing the torch and putting it in your inventory, so it's effectively putting the light out.
Okay.
Because if you are backlit,
obviously more visible.
You're gonna be easier to detect for your enemies.
Can you extinguish the torch if it's in your inventory?
Well, yeah, basically once you grab it, it goes out.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
So you just have an extra torch in your inventory. So you can either drop it or whatever, keep it.
Did you have like a biggest single thing that you learned over your first few characters that you hope that you would never do again? Or boy, I can't believe that I did that.
Oh.
And maybe we can think about it even for the next time we get together. I'm interested to know the kinds of things that you don't want to do again. Right, just because first time through.
I don't think it's as much about what I don't want to do as it is evolving in trying things that I haven't or didn't have the confidence to do.
Sure.
Such as, magic and things that seem more complicated, even if they're not. But you get that mental.
I'm not good at using
mental
magic.
block, and you're like, I'm just gonna be an, sword and board, straight up fighter. I'm charging into battle, and we're all about the melee because that's easiest,
right?
And
you don't have to learn anything to swing a weapon, right?
Right, and I think that's probably fairly common for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so I don't think there's anything that I would not want to do, but there's at this point. It's all about trying new things and combinations of things that maybe I was afraid to try before because I didn't know the game or I didn't understand how the mechanics worked or, what exactly a spell might do.
And uncovering spells through, standing at the alchemy table or whatever it is, and just slamming stuff together to see what you get out of it. That was huge fun for me. Of course, I'm going through tons of inventory. Oh, nope, you didn't find anything. Nope, you didn't find anything.
I'm gonna. There's a kind of a little cheat. You can justify anything. So I'm gonna justify this.
How's it gonna help me, Joe?
As this particular character, Ienarath, with her background in, dealing with, necromantic groups and
conniving,
the murder of necromancers, I think we dubbed them.
I think it's awesome. What a great.
So I attribute her knowledge of a lot of different ingredients to that exposure. So I have downloaded on my phone an alchemy app.
Oh.
And this was actually a paid-for app. It's like 99 cents. I mean, standard.
A septum.
Standard fare. Not much more if it was. And what it'll do, this one allows, like most of them, but I found this one pretty good. It allows you to enter in your inventory, and then you can create you can go to the a sell mode, and it will, according to what you entered for inventory, give you all the combinations for the potions that are worth the most.
Okay.
So I use that a lot.
Which, let's be fair, if you were doing this in the real world, you would keep a notebook.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. So what I've done with her, and it's been a great help in learning what the different ingredients do.
Okay.
Because each one can have up to 4 different, attributes. That
did notice that, and I don't know what stuff to collect right now, so I collect everything. Oh, look, flowers.
So
look, glowing mushrooms.
I've used this app at the alchemy table to just start learning what all these things do in game, because then that builds up your knowledge base in the game.
Yeah.
And then it expands your potion abilities.
Yeah, and for me, it's been troll fat and salts and stuff.
It increases your experience in alchemy, that kind of thing. So right now, I have not done a ton of stuff in alchemy, but I've got a lot of ingredients I need to burn through.
Yeah.
And it's good for levels. And with this particular character, mine, I justify it as, that's a great note, is that you're going to keep notes on this stuff.
Yeah.
So she's keeping notes. She knows a lot of it from her history because she's fairly smart.
I'm kind of hoping that.
So that's one thing I've done with alchemy, is I've used an app that I got for my phone to help me kind of corral. Otherwise, it's a lot of, you're right. It's a lot of, if you don't know it, you're either going online to find it, or it's just trial and error.
See, and to me,
and that's okay too.
Right, but it's like the beginning of every podcast, we have a bit of an intro, and there's the music that plays, and I know that we've gotten some questions from people about why the long music in the beginning. It makes perfect sense when you need to disconnect from what you were just doing and get yourself into the podcast, right? This is where you're going to be for a while. And thank you for being here, all of you. But as I think about what I'm doing when I'm playing, I don't want to have to leave the world that I'm in order to go find out something. So having, a notebook, like I used to keep when I was playing Myst, right?
Yep.
In this kind of a situation, I would have a notebook. I tend to keep something handy that I can write on because I want to know. My Whelp is learning at every turn, and I can't assume that it's all just going to stay right in mind, right?
Right.
So I think that, without belaboring too long, the other work that I've been trying to do with Whelp is not being afraid to just try stuff. The alchemy, after jumping through and trying to disenchant everything that I felt that I didn't want to hang on to.
Yep, enchanting.
Right, but I had all these things that were magical items that I knew that at least at the moment, didn't think that I was going to need, right? So I would disenchant as whatever I could to try to learn from it.
Yep.
I've still left a few things that I mainly because I think they look cool, right?
Well, yeah.
They look cooler when they're magic.
Kind of nice to keep some of the things, yeah. For sure.
It's important to keep some special things.
Well, yeah.
I'm probably losing out big time. But when I look at those, and then we look at things like an app or notes that we're taking as we're going through, at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm probably not taking quite as many notes as I am at 10 o'clock at night.
Not, yeah.
But to be able to go back and know that I've learned something from that, so that the next time I encounter it, that I know that I want to pick up the thistles, or I know that I want to pick up the glowing mushrooms, or I know that I want to pick some, and then I don't waste my time on some of the other stuff if I know that what I need is troll fat and salts and dragon's ear or whatever those things are.
Oh yeah, the flower.
Yeah,
dragon's tongue.
Dragon's tongue.
Yep.
You see, I'm such a newbie.
Things that I've found that you can always use: salt of any kind, frost salt, fire salt, especially because they're hard to come by.
I haven't seen that.
You'll get those. You'll almost always get those if you take down a flame atronach. They'll usually have.
I don't even know what that is. Where would I find a flame atronach?
Conjurers will often conjure them.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll come across them out in the wilderness.
I haven't yet.
Super, saturated. You don't come across them a lot.
Okay.
But they'll always have fire salts. So whenever you can get fire salts, grab them because they're really good. Frost salts are good too.
Oh, I was just dealing with ice wraiths, so yeah.
Yeah. Grab the frost. So basically, salts of any kind, whether it's regular, fire, frost, those are always useful.
Okay.
Regular salt because you can cook with them as well. Vampire dust can be useful because that's an ingredient for invisibility potions.
Okay.
What are some other things that can be
See, these are the
useful?
what I'm sure to you and Stu sound like basic questions, but as you're stumbling your way through, I didn't know to ask.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know to look for them.
Right.
I didn't know to try to stockpile salts.
Right.
Wasn't really paying attention. Oh, it's something that somebody's carrying. I might want this sometime in the future.
Right. And again, it's nothing maybe that you'll use right away, but it's nice to have on hand if you do.
I did find that leaving little custom markers as to where I've stashed away all my stuff has been helpful.
There you go.
Not so much in the first few saves because I needed to dump it all anyway.
Right. Snowberries, not so much because they're pretty prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick up, they're kind of a dime a dozen. Jazzbay grapes are really hard to come by. So grab those when you find them.
What was the one that you were mentioning last time with Stu that was also really hard to find? There were a couple of them. Robard is collecting stuff for making skooma, and among some of the other rarer plants.
The Crimson Nernroot?
Yeah.
Those only grow in Blackreach.
Okay.
So you'll only be able to get those down there.
If I'm in Blackreach.
If you're in Blackreach.
I don't think I'm going there anytime soon.
It's funny. I actually, with this character now, I look forward to returning to Blackreach because it's the only place I feel safe.
Sure.
It's kind of weird, but
when I get through Blackreach, I'm
really
sure I won't feel the same way.
No, not right away.
Well, that's really all I've got for updates on Whelp. Now, but I'm finding it to be less fearful.
Well, that's good.
It's really easy to start taking on some of the persona from myself during the day, from the people that I'm running into in the game. It's sort of solidifying who Whelp is as he makes his way through Skyrim.
Well, that's good. Yeah, it sounds like you're kind of starting to get a feel for the character.
Instead of just playing, it's, you were talking about let's live.
Right.
It's a very, very different approach to the game in general. And it becomes only a game in the way that, people talk about gamification. Right. We don't think of work. Going to work as gamification, but you're getting something for doing something.
Right.
And in terms of what I'm doing in Skyrim now, whether it is resting a little bit to make a good choice to get my health back, whether it's figuring out which potions to use or which things to try to make, or deciding which stuff to keep or drop, it is an interesting part of the game of being this character.
And I think you'll find too that as you come across different items, some things are going to resonate more than others, and that's going to kind of help drive your look and feel, which in turn is going to help build out the character and really what you think and what you want to do with him. Whether it turns out he's going to be more thieving or more assassin type, and
you don't have to have everything. That's where specializing makes so much more sense instead of leveling everything up at the same time.
You really, jack of all trades and a master of none. Personally, I enjoy the game more when I really hit in stride in a particular area.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of start out, at least, I do. I start out in that kind of more holistic realm of you try to hit some of the high points, but pretty soon it funnels down into really what resonates.
Right. Yeah.
And again, with this character I'm running now, what resonates with her is vastly different than what I was feeling with Hinto.
Yeah.
And I still want to get back to him, but I'm having so much fun with her that I just haven't.
It's hard to give it up.
I haven't really wanted to leave her yet. So.
Well, this has been great. This has been so helpful, and I learn from you guys every time. But to be able to talk about the stuff that's really difficult for me as a new guy, and some of the other new players that are out there probably have similar questions or different ones. Not just a big plug, but we've got the web forum on the website at Character Crusade where people could ask questions like that. We get them rolling in, and it's great. It's really interesting, and there's some really good questions that come through. Yeah, absolutely. So we have some questions that have come in online, so let's get into Talkback.
All right, Crusader Mail coming up.
All right, Joe, what have we gotten for Crusader Mail recently?
Well, we've got one here from Antonio. Antonio from Portugal. Antonio asks, or says, I'm starting a new character, but I can't create a good name for him. How do you guys create the names for your characters? So Antonio's looking for some ideas on naming his character.
I found it really hard in the beginning to come up with a character as well. I sort of let my first character name just come as I started picking physical characteristics, right?
Sure.
I wanted to look at Ienarath in the beginning as, as a warrior. I knew that I had chosen a Nord, and a couple of other things that I didn't really know were options as I was starting to, what that really would mean from building it out.
Right.
But having lived in Scandinavia for a while, I was thinking about Nordic countries and thinking
a
little bit about
that.
Yeah,
that's perfect since, obviously the Nord race is based heavily on Scandinavian culture.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, I actually just started doing a little bit of research online and thinking about if I was to look at, popular names in mythology or anything like that, are there ways that I could either take an existing name or take it and change it just a little bit so that it would fit a little bit more for the character, not so that it's just, perfect like Lars or something.
Right. So it has more of that fantasy.
Right. So the way that Ienarath looks on our website right now, he's still sort of this big, bulky, wearing mostly like leather armor in the beginning. But I actually put it on the website what it is. Einar is an Old Norse name composed of the elements for alone and warrior, right? So lone warrior.
Sure.
As you guys were telling me about Skyrim, there was always this first person. Yes, you were interacting with people, but it really was the story of you making your way through Skyrim.
Sure.
And then Stygander was really a bit of a change of a name that means wanderer. And because I didn't really know where I was going or what I was doing, and I just kept thinking about the idea of walkabout, those two things probably have no business going together. I'm sure that if you were to talk to somebody from the Nordic countries, I've probably ruined it from a surname perspective. But I wanted something that I could identify with the character rather than not having a name. Having the name made me feel a lot more personal about it, but it was from physical characteristics and the way that he was making his way through Skyrim in the beginning.
And I know a few epicodes. Sorry.
A few of them epicodes ago.
In the first few early episodes, I did talk a little bit about Hinto Cheveo, and for him, what I had done was because I wanted to give him a real Native American feel, not just in look, but with his name as well. I went on and just started Googling around different meanings, kind of in a similar way. I took traits that I kind of wanted and looked up different native translations for that.
Sure.
And I can't remember specifically off the top of my head now. I'd have to look it up again. But I believe Hinto was, what were I chose two different native languages. One was southwestern of the United States, and one was more in our northern region.
Okay.
But one meant blue, and the other one meant spirit warrior. So I just combined the two, and I liked the sound of it. So I kind of did what you did in that I took some attributes and I did a tiny bit of research and grabbed a couple pieces that I thought paired well and that I liked the sound of. For Ienarath, I did. It was more. I actually did more of a name generator online, and got something that was fairly close, and then I just kind of tweaked it until I liked the sound of it.
Okay.
So because she's a Dunmer, I looked up specifically some different Dunmer style names from generators, and there's a lot of different generators out there. Just Google name generator Skyrim, and you're going to get something. You can just play around with it.
That makes it fun too.
Yeah. So for her, I I narrowed it just to her race, and then I came up with something that I liked the sound of.
It makes a big difference that in general we're talking about naming conventions that we might be more familiar with, right? Because there are female characters in Skyrim and there are male characters in Skyrim.
Right.
Regardless of how you want your name or what your intent of this character playthrough is going to be, our idea of names, might be a little bit set in our own mind, right?
Right.
Generating real names, right, for my kids, when we were talking about that a few days ago, it's a really, for us, it was a challenging conversation, right? And you're thinking about your family, you're thinking about a name that this person will have, presumably for their entire life.
Right.
And what does that mean? What does the name that they're carrying mean? And as I get further and further into Skyrim, realizing, that the character name really can mean a lot in your own mind as you're meeting with people in places where they live, and they're the most important person, and you're the one in the lowly place.
Yep.
And, your only sort of sense of self-worth may only come from what you're carrying and your name.
Right. And with Stuart's character, Julian, he derived his character's name based on the background he had kind of devised in his mind for that character. So it was kind of based on how he thought this character's parents and how that influence would have come across in naming their child, his character. So there's a lot of different ways you can come around this. You can come at it from a race angle, what's culturally appropriate or what would make sense, such as your Nord, or even my Dunmer. You can just jump online and just start out with your race or with a genre, or usually these generators have a lot of options. You can just tick off the options and it'll spit out male and female versions
and grab them and mash them together, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times that's what I do. I'll pick a first name here and a last name there, and because I think they sound good together, and maybe I'll switch the spelling up a little bit. You can take, if you have a good sense of the character's background, you can take that into account in creating this name. It really comes down to what speaks to you. But those are some starting points.
And I think that, at least for me, if I think about character names, I wanted a name with Ienarath to be something that sounded somewhat important, but didn't really have any weight behind it, right? I mean, here's this dude that nobody knows, and he's coming out of nowhere, and his whole MO is, I got to figure out who I am. Right.
Well, it has a very strong sound to it. It's a very strong sounding name.
And that's what I like about it. And I think that the question gets at the heart of when you're starting a new character, or if you're brand new to Skyrim, or both. If you're trying to personalize it and you make it feel really close to you, naming something gets it close to you.
Yeah. And that's where it can also make it difficult.
Yeah. I agree.
Because you don't know where to start.
Yeah.
You don't know where the game's going to lead you. You don't know anything about the character.
But we also might assume, how do I know that in my playthrough that, my character isn't going to have a name change somewhere in the middle? I might have this cathartic experience, and like they may have done in years past, your name changes because of this huge experience.
You perform some, you go through some sort of ritual, and you take on this,
new name, new characteristics.
Name, this almost a title.
Right.
Empyrean, Cimmerian. They're basically titles, but they could be, they could also act as names.
Totally.
For long listening or long fans of the Couch Warrior series, when I say Cimmerian, they all know who I'm talking about.
Right.
And if I say Empyrean, they all know. Those aren't necessarily the characters' names, but they might as well be at this point.
Yeah, because that's what we think of when we hear the name.
Right. Well, especially Cimmerian, because I don't know if Stu ever came up with an alternate name.
No, I think you're right.
He may have, but hadn't gotten there, or just hasn't.
Or it wasn't important to.
Or it wasn't important to the story. But Fleet is synonymous with Empyrean. So there's a good example of a character coming into a new direction in their life and taking on a new persona, a new name.
Right.
So that's possible too. How do you do that in the game? It's a little tougher just because the game doesn't necessarily allow you to change your character's name on screen.
Right.
Not through the vanilla game, at least.
Yeah. But if I look back on the fact that my current character's name is Whelp,
right?
It no matter when I show up later in the game, if they're still going to call me Whelp,
right,
that's fine. Part of it is when you go away and you become a different person for where you are. When you go back to those places where they don't know about the change, they're still going to call you by your old name.
Yes.
Because they don't know any better.
Yes,
right?
They're going to call you how they know you.
I kind of like that, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, I think Antonio's getting to a real basic question. How do we know what to call it?
Right.
It's a deeply personal thing in a lot of ways, but who is your character? Who do you want your character to be?
Right.
Is it like we asked in like episode 1 or 2? Is it just like you? Is it the opposite of you?
Right.
Is it another version of you?
Well, and that's the fun part about a name too, is that inadvertently or purposely, it's kind of a reflection of the player as well as the character.
Very much so.
And that's kind of the bridge, or it can be part of the bridge that really relates and connects you to this character you're playing.
I agree.
So it's you hit it right there. It's a personal choice. And it's kind of a big deal. It doesn't sound like it should be, but yeah, Antonio, you're right. It's something that you feel that you want to get right off the bat.
But I think having some places to start,
some places
like you've been
to
saying.
start.
I mean, and if we had to come back to what I would do, I would probably go and hit the name generator a couple of times, and then I'd do a little bit of research and find out if I wanted to, sort of draw up the name in my mind as to who this next character was going to be when they grew up. Right?
Yeah, and if you got a better sense of what you want this to be, or the heritage or the backstory, certainly springboard off of that. Whether it's using cultural history or a story, a little vignette, as Stuart would put it.
It's all a starting point.
Yeah, that should at least get you hopefully in the direction you need to go.
Absolutely. Well, Antonio, thank you for your question. Obviously, as you can tell, it's got us thinking too.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's helped point you in a little bit of direction. Now it's pointed me in a different one.
Yeah, great.
Which is even more fun. So thanks, Antonio. Anybody who's got additional questions, ideas, thoughts, we'd love to hear them. Every page on the website at charactercrusade.com has got the talkback form. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, dear listener, we've come to the end of another episode. We would like to thank fans of the show for your faithful support and continued encouragement. Your enthusiasm is the lifeblood of this podcast, and whether your support comes through support on Patreon with dollars, through iTunes with reviews, or through recommendations to friends and family, we appreciate it all. You can contact us through our website at charactercrusade.com, or check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/charactercrusade. And until next time, remember, it's not about the objective, it's about the journey. So go forth and experience.
You don't speak.
I
like
don't.
stew?
I don't speak stew.
There's a few people that speak stew.
Oh yeah, no, there's more than a few, but I'm not one of them. I understand it.
You've probably known him longer than everybody.
Well, that's I
Is that the problem?
well, yeah, I can interpret it on the fly pretty easily, but I don't ever read it. Stewinese.
I like that. Stewinese.
Greetings, Crusaders. Let me clear my throat.
You should do that every time.
Every
right into the mic.
single time. Because that's what people like.